let's take you to this live developing story there in the Eastern Cape. We are expecting the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Velenkosini Hlabisa, to give us an update on the developments in that province. He's been crisscrossing the province, trying to make sense of the extent of the damage following the inclement weather conditions there in that province. And he's urged government to relocate residents that are living in low-lying areas to safer and more suitable dwellings. And remember, this comes just as we've seen even here on SABC, our very own Fundiswa Mhlekude, who was in such area where there was, of course, the residents who were trapped inside their homes, but also at the same time some school children holding on to branches of trees there for safety in order to try and at least get someone to rescue them. The rescue did happen, but at the same time, lots of concern even about the four learners who are still missing at this stage. And we do know, according to the department, in fact the provincial government, that has given us an update even last night, the four learners are still missing at this stage, and there is of course a race against time to try and get an update there as to what happens, because you do have parents who are concerned about the situation that is taking place there. So when you look at that scholar transport that was taking the learners, that minibus taxi that was swept away, there was around 13 people there, with 3 learners who were rescued alive, and this is earlier on in the week, and then 4 learners being confirmed dead at the same time, and also the conductor as well as the driver of the minibus taxi have been declared dead as well. Lots of concern even about the fact that the driver, as some continue to speculate, that he would have also underestimated the power of the current and also the water there, and trying to cross a flooded bridge, and lots of concern. And as you see on your screens right now, these are residents who would have been throughout the day trying to pick up the pieces and to piece together their homes following this particular tragedy. And when you listen to the government there in the province of the Eastern Cape, they speak about the fact that the widespread devastation has been felt across different communities in the province of the Eastern Cape, but the OR Tambo and the Amatole district municipalities have been hardest hit, and confirming that the death toll now stands at 57, saying that search and recovery operations continue across all affected areas, particularly when you think about the OR Tambo district and what it has had to go through. Torrential rains wreaking havoc in recent days. They're causing devastating landslides and flooding, and leaving hundreds of families displaced, as well as significant damage on critical infrastructure. And apart from families that were displaced, you will then now be thinking of families who are now going to try and see if their missing loved ones are among those who have been recovered. The minister has been asking that those who are in low-lying areas be moved to areas where it's safer. But also at around this time, what happens as well are the concerns around early warning systems. Early warning systems, how effective are they in such communities to get people to evacuate? And when you speak to municipalities in some of these cases, they tell you that they do. And in some cases, you find that residents become uncomfortable to leave their homes. But also at the same time, you do have residents themselves who complain that early warning systems simply aren't being more effective, especially as far as communication is concerned. So a lot of focus on this particular story to see what happens. And remember, the call by Minister Hlabisa, who sits there, he is the man that a lot of people are looking to understand what now is going to be the resources allocated to the province in order to be able to assist. And this, of course, the focus even from the Department of Basic Education, wanting to understand how much of additional funding and also help from the department are they going to be able to get, because we understand some 58 schools or so have been severely damaged, and they are now going to be needing some assistance from the National Department. It's also impacting as well, the children, especially matriculants also, who would have been in the middle of exams. And when you speak to the department, they also talk about the fact that there now are efforts that are underway to try and assist some of the learners there in order to be able to not only cope with the exams, but also cope with some of their peers who lost their lives in this tragedy. And when you go back to some of the stories, especially when you listen to what came out from that area there where Fundiswa Mhlekude was, you think about those learners that would have been holding on to a tree, and unfortunately one of those who was holding on to a tree saw a snake. As we saw, one of the people there holding on to the tree realized there was a snake, started shouting, and unfortunately let go of the branch, and they were swept away. And when you see that now there is, of course, extensive damage to property, but the critical priority here is going to be saving lives, and this is the priority of the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa. He has said that he wants to make sure that a hard stance is taken by government, because they are not only there as government, but they also need to make sure that they help the people, that they reach out to the many families that would have lost their loved ones. And just to quote some of what he said earlier on, he said that they will need to cooperate to let us find you a place. And he was addressing the people there, speaking about the government, saying that we need to make sure that we need to find you a place where you can start building. And if it means allowing the government, as time goes through the housing program, it's a separate program, but you will, of course, be allowed to wait. But the climate, we understand, is not waiting. So the spotlight is on the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and we'll take you to that briefing as soon as it gets underway.